So coming up with a strategy to help you in the 2019 market is probably my number one mandate this year. So that's whether you're a buyer or you're a seller, because there's different things. And even if you're just a seller, there's different strategies for each neighborhood, for each type of home. And you can always count on me to be really honest with you. I think those of you who've worked with me, you'll know that. You're going to get the things that you maybe don't want to hear. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. That's sort of something that I've always been like. So just some advice. If you have a brand new home in an area where they're building homes that are just like yours for the same price range, or in often cases cheaper, which always kind of sucks. I know that, you guys. I know some of you have bought duplexes for $400,000. Now they're selling the same one for $385,000. I totally understand your pain there. We would be in the same position if we sold our house, so we get it. But that's not the time to sell unless you have to. So that would be your strategy. And certainly, I mean, I'm generalizing here, but that's something for you. If you're in one of those newer areas where builders are building similar product, you're going to be up against the buyer objection that, why would I buy your listing, you know, landscaping and fence done aside, when I can buy this one over here and pick all my own colors, and I want to be in the newer area with the newer this and the newer that. So that's always what the buyer objection is, because that's the point, is understanding what a buyer's objection is and heading it off at the pass. Pricing ahead of the market is going to be probably the best thing you can do for yourself going forth. I would like the opportunity to sit down with you to a face-to-face consult, but just to give you a random example. So we know the market's downshifting. Now, this is an exaggerated example. This is like a deep dive. But if you say, okay, Kim, I agree with you, that all the stats and everything say, because we pull those stats, $100,000, my house is worth $100,000, easy numbers, and you want to try for $125,000 and we'll lower the price later, we can do that, but that needs to be like a 2-week time frame, if not at all. In fact, you shouldn't do that. If the market is saying $100,000, you should actually price it at $95,000 or $90,000. If you have an $800,000 house, maybe price it $20,000 less. The ratio on that would change depending on what price point you're in, but you have to be the best price. You need to be the prettiest house, and you need to have not a lot of projects to do. Now, if you're a project house, you're a project house. I think you need to lean into that and say, hey, here you go. I had this listing once that was an original owner. It was, I think, 80 years old, and everything in the house was held together by duct tape, and we just leaned into that, and a really amazing investor bought it and fixed it up for his family to live in. And when it came on the market 4 years later, it was really neat to go through and see that. But fixer homes are fixer homes. If you have a house that's got, you know, leaky faucets, or the caulking needs to be redone, or the fence is kind of half fallen, you need to fix that stuff, because that stuff could be worth maybe $5,000 to repair, but a buyer comes in and they think it's worth $20,000 because maybe they don't really know, or, you know, you're kind of selling your problems, I guess or selling your challenges. And if you have the opportunity and the means to fix those things, you really need to, because you're not the prettiest and the most perfect on the market. It's a bit of a popularity contest right now. So I know that sucks, but that's the real advice we have on that. But yeah, if you're in that downshift right here and you aren't pricing ahead of the market, you're going to be constantly chasing it. If you price ahead, you're heading it off the pass. I mean, quite literally. So yeah, being the best price and being the prettiest one on the market. And I understand that there's limitations with that. I mean, if you bought a house in 1970 and you haven't updated it, again, we just lean in and we price accordingly. So being the best house on the market, prettiest, doesn't mean in the whole market. It just means in your price range. What a reasonable buyer, if they're looking at your home and all the other ones that are for sale at the same time, what are they going to think of your home? And my offer to you is, if you're going to list your house and we want to know what those houses look like, we can go ahead and check them out. They have open houses. We can book a showing. We can let the listing agent know that that's what we're doing. We're just previewing a home. So that way you're not kicking someone out. Another big thing I've gotten, you know, and I understand this, some feedback we've gotten, you know, someone bought a house for $400,000, they put $50,000 into it. Maybe it's worth $430,000 right now, and that would be like pricing ahead of the market, because you're not always going to get that dollar for dollar trade of all the updates that you put into it. And that's a disappointing number to hear. And trust me, it's a disappointing number to deliver. So if you're one of those people that's getting those numbers delivered to you, here's my best advice. So maybe you're losing that $20,000 or whatever it is you are losing. You're going to make that up on the buy side. So, you know, if you sell your house for $380,000 instead of $400,000 and you lose that $20,000 and you turn around and you buy, you know, a different house in a different part of the city or wherever you're going, as long as you're staying in the same market. I mean, if you're moving to Toronto or Vancouver, that's different. But if you're staying in the same market, residential is down across the board. So you're kind of making up the difference. And I need you to really know that. And we can pull comparables and kind of prove. And it's not always going to be 20 grand for 20 grand. Sometimes it's 20 grand for 40 grand. Sometimes it's the opposite. But it's not always, I know we all like to buy low and sell high, but that's not the reality. So if it's downshifting on one hand, you're going to get the benefit as a buyer. So something to keep in mind. So strategy is always going to be our key element going forth. It's going to be really important. You know, I get some people who call me up and they say, tell me how much my house is worth over the phone. That's virtually impossible for me to do. So we need to sit down, we need to go over strategy, we need to talk about your needs. But yeah, I think the bottom line is pricing ahead, making sure your house doesn't need those small repairs and that it's the prettiest one that we can manage, and we can have staters bring them in, we can take you shopping and help you buy stuff if we need to ante up your house a little bit. Whatever you guys need, we can do that. You know, sometimes you price houses and it makes sense and then they don't sell. You know, we follow the same advice, everything that I just told you, and it doesn't sell. That just means the final point I'm going to make is we always need to remain a moving target. So that was always true in the past, but you know, it used to be in the past you'd price it, maybe it didn't sell in the first couple weeks, you adjusted a couple grand and then it sells down the line, and that seems to not be working. So we always have to change our strategy. We always have to be meeting and talking, and we always have to be a moving target. So if you guys want any further information, or if I think of anything else outside this video, we can do it in a blog post or Facebook post or do more video in the end, but please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm going to add my phone number just on the bottom of the screen right here, and I look forward to hearing from you.